Get ready for Sonia, Teresa, Vanessa, Bettina. Come on. Say what? Come on. Say what? We got hot topics. We got what the fudge. So bring it home. Say what? Bring it home. Say what? You got questions. We got the answers. You wanna chit? You wanna chat? You wanna talk about this and talk about that? You're in the right place to hear the facts. Bring it home. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? The ladies are bringing the conversation. So join us or say what across the nation. Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say.
Y'all know I can't go nowhere until I hear that. Say what? Ladies, welcome. We are so happy to have you with us today listening to the show. Ladies, it is a pleasure. It's the beginning of summer. Short sleeves. It's a wonderful time. How are you both feeling?
Eyes tied, boss. Inside joke.
But you talking like that on June.
I know, right? Juneteenth, I'm saying eyes tied, boss. But eyes tied, boss.
Well, in Vanessa famous words, I'm peachy. I'm doing well.
Absolutely. Well, we are so happy to have our listeners listening in today. Today, officially, I know we've seen so many different things moving, but today is officially Juneteenth.
Yes.
We're celebrating freedom today. We are celebrating ancestors who went before us, enslaved, and had to deal with what they had to do. And as a result, we are free today. We are so happy. We are down missing our sister Bettina.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we are missing Bettina, but we wish her well where she is. And we will definitely
absolutely.
have her. So how do y'all feel about Juneteenth? I mean, the country celebrating it. How y'all feel about that?
I'm excited.
I am
It's about time.
Yes.
I am too. I mean, to have a federal holiday where things are shut down. Now, it was really strange because today I did see somebody from the post office. I was like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be a federal holiday. But to have the entire country, you know what I thought this morning, and I know we'll move on, is we need a parade.
A parade?
There were some parades.
Oh,
Some areas did celebrate with parades. I know here in the metro area, I want to say it was College Park. They had a parade.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We need a big New York in front of Macy's parade.
I agree with that. I mean, we got Juneteenth. That shouldn't be too difficult to do now that we have Juneteenth.
Absolutely.
We can go out and make that happen, Talisa.
I want to see. Well, did he pass? I think he passed. Regis Philbin and all of them with the headphones on. So we have this coming down the street. It is Winnie the Pooh. It is such a.
And you won't see Regis. You won't see Regis.
I don't want you to see Regis.
I rest his soul.
It's what we normally see when we see New Year's and we stuff like it. Now here's a little history lesson. A lot of people know New York's parade, but the very first parade, the oldest parade, is the Mummers Parade out of Philadelphia.
Is it?
It is the oldest.
Okay.
It's the Mummers Parade?
Mummers. So the Mummers were kind of, it reminds you of New Orleans because it were people that kind of dressed up and had the celebration and walk down the street and all. So the Mummers are the very first. The biggest one, of course, is in New York, and I think the one behind that is Pasadena, where you see the ones out of California and stuff like that. But the Mummers Parade out of Philadelphia is the oldest huge parade that we have. So that's why I said I just felt like we need a parade. We need a parade.
Yeah,
so we can make that happen.
I think you can make that happen.
Exactly. Can you imagine Say What out there talking about, look, we got this.
Hey, we can make that happen. Hey,
we need to talk to the mayor of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We don't have to go all the way to New York. We can do that right here in the ATL.
In our own backyard.
That's right. And you know what would be great with it if we had what are they called? The floats. Floats go by with people out of our history
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
so that people can learn, our history and things of that nature. See, I'm coming up with ideas
Hey,
just to do. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, but that's how you do. That's how you do. So we got a parade started.
So,
absolutely.
Lisa, I think you should chair this committee.
Okay, okay, Sonia.
You
I
know, when you
second that
sit in them
motion.
meetings at work,
Motion
if
is
it's your idea, it become your baby.
I second that, Sonya. That's usually how it goes. You came up with
no,
it.
you know what?
You
I agree.
started.
I agree. I think it could be here, but you know where I think it would be best? It would be in DC, going down the National African American Museum and go down that Main Street.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That'd be
Yeah.
perfect. And it would end at the museum, and then people can kind of do the history and see, come know it. Y'all heard it here first. Y'all heard it here first. So
All right.
yeah, yeah. So y'all
Sounds
know
like
we can't go another further. In the midst of us celebrating, we need to have the word of God. Sonia, what is it that thus saith the Lord?
The Lord is saying a lot today in Acts chapter 2, verse 42 through 47. And it just really touched my heart because this is something that I truly enjoy doing. All the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including
Okay, I'm not
did
sure if
we?
we lost Sonia for a second.
Yeah, I think we lost her.
I think we lost her. She'll be
over
back.
them all. And the
Yeah.
apostles stole their property and possessions and shared their money with those in need. They worshiped together at the temple each day, met in homes for the Lord's Supper, and shared their meals with joy, with great joy and generosity. All the while, praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. And this, in line with our topic today, God gave me this word. And one of the things I said before I started is that I like this word because it's something that I enjoy doing, which is fellowshipping. I enjoy feeding people. I enjoy just coming together in the community and just enjoying one another. And in this word, he talks about how we should devote ourselves to teaching and devote ourselves to fellowshipping with one another. It's so important to fellowship with believers. And I just remember back in the day, I mean, way back in the day, where they would get together after church on Sunday. Everybody would bring a meal and they would fellowship after service in these small towns and small churches. And then even when I was growing up, I remember churches fellowshipping together in the community. You know, if one church came over and that pastor ministered at your church after service was over, that was a gathering in the fellowship hall. And, you know, everybody eating and mingling and just praising God together. And so that just brought back great memories and how important it is to God for us to continue these things. And unfortunately, we allow um, convenience, we allow uh, interruptions, distractions, things to keep us from doing that today. It's not a priority anymore for people to come together in fellowship. We just recently, actually, it was I think it was last Sunday, had our Sunday before last. We just had our church homecoming. And for those of you who do not know what a church homecoming is, it's when everybody that was a part of this church, no matter where they are now, are encouraged to come back to your home church on this particular Sunday. And any sister churches that are connected to this church, that church come over as well. And you fellowship with one another, you have service together, and afterwards we just have this big cookout on the church lawn. And we just did that a week or so ago, and it was such a blessing, even to see those who left to establish their own ministry, the other sister churches, or even those who has gone on to doing the Lord's work someplace else that came back to fellowship. It was just so good to see the faces and to come together on one accord. And what the word is saying is that this bring great joy to the Lord. It's also a type of evangelism, because when you have something at your church in your community, guess what? People will stop by. And this actually happened. I met a guy at this event, and I struck up a conversation with, excuse me, with him. We were standing in line waiting for something cool to drink. And as I'm speaking to him, I asked him, I said, well, how are you a member at this location, or how long have you been a member? And he said, actually, this is my second time coming to this church. He said, I just came. He had not visited the church yet, but he came to the church event and the festivities. And so I encouraged him. I began to evangelize. So I encouraged him to come back on a Sunday morning. I talked to him about, our multiple locations and different times, and encouraged him to come back. And so he said that he would do that. So this is an opportunity for that. It's and I talked about the worship. We come together and worship together, and we're just in unity and on one accord. And guess what? Everything was about God. It had nothing to do with an individual or a group or a particular church, but it was just all giving God glory for what he's done and being able to come together just one more time. So I just encourage us that as we plan our family cookouts this summer, gatherings with our family, to remember your community. Do something in your community. You can do something in your neighborhood to just bring everybody together and use that as an opportunity to evangelize and share the good news of Jesus Christ. So that is my word for today.
Amen. Amen. I just love when you brought up, that was a standard at church. It's afterwards, and it was in the basement. The food was always in the basement, and somebody
Yes.
always had a pound cake. I loved the pound cake. Between the chicken and the pound cake, that was just where I was. But it was a
Mhm.
standard. It was understood. You ever see? I know everyone's probably seen the movie about the three women who worked for NASA,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and I
Hidden
can't
Figures.
remember Hidden
Hidden
Figures.
Figures.
And in the beginning of the movie, when she meets the guy that's going to be her husband, they had food outside, and you were
Mhm.
getting food, and you got it on your plate, and that was just standard, to kind of what to do.
Yes.
But I love what you said, Sonia, because I think as a church body, we've gotten away from having the fellowship. Now it's how many services we have. I know my church is up.
Mhm.
So you in and out. It's not the fellowship
Mhm.
anymore. So I definitely agree with that part. Vanessa, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. At my church, after service on Sundays, the pastor usually went around to someone's home and ate. And we served when there was a special service at church, like if we had like choir day. Y'all remember choir day, usher board,
Mhm.
all the other services. There was a meal served in the kitchen area. But yeah, there was always fellowship. But when you look at it, we did more back then. I tell my nieces and nephews all the time, I'm so thankful I grew up when I grew up, because
Mhm.
they're really missing out on a
Yes,
lot
they.
of things.
Mhm.
There was more. We had more relationships with everyone.
Mhm.
Um, I was told once upon a time that when they started building garages onto homes, that's when we stopped speaking to our neighbors. Because remember, before we'd sit on the porch, you parked outside. When you got out of the car, you usually waved at your neighbor or something. You still had that relationship with your neighbor, but
Mhm.
relationships are very important. Family dinners, Sundays, you had every day for us in our house. It was every day. You didn't sit in front of the
Mhm.
TV and eat dinner in front of the TV. We sat down every Sunday, had dinner. We had family dinners. My older sisters would come over with my nieces and nephews. They would eat, and then you just had random people if they happened to stop by. They would eat. It was We had relationship goals back then that we need to get back to now.
I
So
love what you said about the garages, though. The garages, and that did we stop talking to each other? We just We did. Yeah.
because you pull in and the garage lets down behind you and you're in the house. You're not
Ab-
going to go back out and speak to whoever's sitting on the porch or whatnot. um,
I'm guilty.
Me too, I
Yeah.
certainly am.
All of us are guilty, honestly. Now, I didn't grow up with garages, so I didn't
Me
have
either, me either, me
we
either.
we had row homes and you went in the front door and kind of whatever. But now it's gotten away from that. The thing that I missed that was similar to what you're talking about, son, we had block parties. So people would come
Mhm.
out and celebrate. You bring your grill out front and you would grill for, so you would go from house to house getting food, and kind of, the
Mhm.
fellowship. It was the block coming together to kind of do.
Mhm.
You don't see that much anymore.
I want to add to something that Vanessa said too, is that I see that young people, one, they really don't even want to introduce their children to the Lord and bring them to church. And then two, when they do bring them, they like the in and out.
Mm,
No experience, no encounters, just to say that I went because what my niece say sometimes, well, that's the old school way. And just because it's the old school way does not mean that it's not the right way or even a good
exactly.
way. And
Absolutely.
so when Vanessa said that about the relationships formed in church, that is so important because I'm still some people, because we lived in totally different communities, but our churches brought us together, and we're
Hmm.
still friends today.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Still
Absolutely.
friends today because of that fellowship.
Yep.
Absolutely. And to your point, a lot of young people do not, like you said, they don't even want to know their neighbor. What I need to know her
Right.
for? Why they got to be all up in my business? But the problem, and I will add and piggyback off of what Vanessa said, in my opinion, when we started getting away from that, community began to fade.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Was huge with us. If something happened, you could go to a neighbor, you could do whatever. And now with people not knowing their neighbor, honestly, in my subdivision, that was one of the first things that I was excited about. I don't know if you guys know, and we're old enough all in this on this show, but there used to be a show called Knots Landing.
Hmm.
Landing, I loved it because they were in a cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
So I was so excited to be in a cul-de-sac, because I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna do it. But I know my neighbors.
Right.
Whereas my son's peak group does not. So it's just, in my opinion, that has been lost. That's the commodity that's been lost, is that community, whether it's in
Mhm.
church, whether it's in the neighborhood. We need to bring that back. Hence, the reason for this show was because we're not talking as much anymore. We need to be talking and
Mhm.
not after the crisis has hit. So definitely need to bring that back, and now we find out that it's biblical. God wants us to come together, and the Lord was pleased when they came together. So thank you so much, Sonia, for that scripture. Vanessa, what's not going on in the world?
That's the 5 second segment. Um, so I'll give you a little bit more of what is going on in the world. So last week, Donald Trump visited the 180 church on the west side of the city of Michigan, um, the state of Michigan. See, I'm all discombobulated reading this.
Don't feel bad, Vanessa. He was confused too, but go
I was
ahead.
going to say, I'm all discombobulated reading this. The state of Michigan, he visited the 180th church. It's called 180 Church on the west side. Um, of Detroit in Michigan, and he um, he met with some black leaders of the church, and from the camera angle, initial camera angle, you would think that he was talking to a crowd of black people. However, I don't know if you follow Joy Reid or have seen her show. She actually showed the audience. The audience was filled with his followers, a lot of white followers. The black people were on stage with him, which to me was enough. Um, but in the audience, it was actually his white followers, his white supporters. So she wanted to show the real deal as to what was actually happening, and show that it was all, as most of his things are, made up. However, what isn't made up is that you do have black leaders of that church who decided to meet with him.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Sonia, I'll let you go first.
Well, I really don't have any, Vanessa. When I saw that, I just ignored it because I knew that it wasn't real, because there's nothing authentic. He does nothing that is authentic. And that's the pattern. And one thing I'm learning is that he needs to be silenced. I am learning that he needs to be silenced. I was in a leadership class not too long ago, and they were talking about the power of influence. And speaking about the power of influence, they had this gentleman do something just really crazy, like in an outdoor park or whatever. And he was the only one doing it, but people are sitting around on their blankets and enjoying whatever, and they weren't paying him any attention. And then finally, one guy got up and joined him. And then another guy got up and joined him. Before you knew it, everybody was just up doing all these crazy things that this guy was doing. And the point is that if somebody continues something long enough, the people will join. And that's what's happening here. And even with what he says, we know a lot of what he says is a lie, but he
Right.
says it so much that even not only do he start to believe it, but other people do too. And that is the scary part of what's happening right now to me.
You just showed how cults begin. That's how cults begin. It is. That's how, a lot of these groups that are not so holy began. If you don't stop bad behavior when it begins, and you take part of it, then what's to stop the, if I started it, then what's to stop me from leading and taking you into another realm of my foolishness?
Well, I will add and piggyback to that, and I'm going to step in Sonia's shoes for a second. The scripture says, do not give the enemy any ground at all. Okay. Mainly because you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile. Okay. The sad part that I see right now in our world, not just in this country, in our world, is because of social media and because of being on everything, we don't read anymore.
Mm-mm.
Again, coming back to the reason for the show starting was because we're not talking anymore. And if something is said multiple times, people eventually believe it. So, to your point, Sonia, it's not even to the point that you can ignore. You can't. You have to address, you have
Mhm.
to be able to say, this is incorrect, this is not. I appreciate people like Joy Reid. And what I appreciate right now is the media has finally caught on to his inauthenticity and is exposing it. When he ran in 2016, they just kind of went with it. He's talking to black leaders.
Mhm.
And I heard someone say on The View, which is very true, the race right now is not, it's Donald Trump and the couch. The reason they're saying the couch is they will show people who are not sure what they want to do. I don't want to know. And those are the people that make it on the interview. So, what it appears to be is that Black men do not want to support. He still has a very low number of the percentage of the Black community supporting him. But there's always going to be somebody supporting whatever. It's how it's portrayed. So at the same
Mhm.
time, to what Sonia says, yes, you have to address, you have to speak to it, you have to say this is a lie, because people will take just that and run. An example would be Hillary Clinton when they were running in 2016 was on the Breakfast Club. That is a stop that most of them make. The argument after she got off, because they asked her about did she like fried chicken, this, that, and the third, foolish questions like that. And she said, I have hot sauce in my purse. And one of the people said, you don't have no hot sauce in your purse. You don't have no. So the meme after that is Hillary Clinton is lying because she don't really have no hot sauce in her purse. Really? We're going to have arguments over hot sauce in her purse. Are we really seriously going to have this discussion? And that's where it goes. So that's how toxic it can be if you don't speak to it. So I appreciate the media right now finally exposing. Honestly, that church was a diverse church and it was biracial, but the way it came out was this
Right.
is a big black church and they're not supporting as you got to be able to question that or people are going to roll with
And on top of that, right after he visited with that church, he then went and met with some white nationalists. He met with this white nationalist group, and they decided to come out with T-shirts that had "White Boy Summer" on it. Um, I think Trump helped distribute them with the hats, saying on the hats as well throughout the crowd. So it's like, okay, you are courting black churches, but at the same time, you showing them, okay, I'm also supporting these white nationalists who, by the way, don't like the black churches. So you got to be smart, people.
and
You got to be smart.
good people on both sides is basically what he was saying. So on both,
Well,
so
that's
he's
that's that
following what
was
he said. He's following what he said.
What does
well
the
that's
Bible say? A double-minded person is unstable
girl
in all their ways.
in all their ways, son. You better
All
preach,
their
son,
ways.
And we
preach,
cannot
Tanya.
walk
Pay
together.
attention.
And we cannot walk together unless we agree. We don't agree.
Exactly.
Therefore, I'm not walking with you to do whatever. So
Hmm.
So anywho, on to the next one. And again, these stories don't get any better. But Gateway Church pastor Robert Morris, you all heard of him?
yeah,
He resigned here recently because of a previous inappropriate relationship he had years ago with a 12-year-old. That has come out. He previously said, though, in the past, he didn't really go into detail, but he did say in the past that, he had an inappropriate relationship, but he repented for it and moved on. But then now the lady has spoken. She's spoken out about it, and he has since resigned. But when he spoke out about it previously, he didn't say that he was 23. I think it said 23, and she was 12. And so now that the truth is out, the age, and it went on for 5 years. She said it went on for years, and he didn't go into detail about it at that time when he previously repented for it. But now that the truth about that relationship is out, he has since resigned. And one more thing, I don't know if you saw too that the other pastor, and I was trying to pull it up while you were talking, the black pastor that recently um,
Tony Evans.
Tony Evans, he also stepped down, but he didn't go into detail about his indiscretion. But he has also taken a break, a hiatus. I forget the term that we call it when you sit a pastor down. Um, but he's
It could
also,
also be like a sabbatical as well.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
can be considered that.
he decided, it was best for him to sit down because of a past sin of his as well. Although he didn't go into detail either, but he sat himself down, so to speak. He said he and the church board all were in agreement that it was in the best interest that he, sit for a while. And didn't decide or didn't expose how long that would be, but he is going to step aside for a little bit. But what are your thoughts on these pastors?
I want to speak before I say what I was going to say initially, since you brought up Dr. Tony Evans, is that to me, those are two totally different types of situation, although sin is sin. And I admire him for it's none of our business what he did. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God. And for a man of God to acknowledge whatever happened, acknowledge that he sinned and that he needs to step away and reset, by all means, that happens to everybody. Everybody at some point in their life may get caught up in something, and then you got to do what, just realign yourself with the word of God, reconnect, be restored, whatever whatever it needs to happen between, and that's between you and God. And he did do it. He said he and his church board and all of those people were in agreement. All right. But this situation with this other pastor,
Robert
uh
Morris.
messing messing with a 12-year-old is not a relationship. Now, because is it because he's a pastor and he's a Caucasian pastor that now you want to call it a relationship and not rape, or not incest, but pedophilia or whatever the case may be? That angers me, because you're trying to make it sound like, oh, it was just a relationship with a 12-year-old. The devil is a lie from the pits of hell. We just got to talking about the truth and calling things out. That is not a relationship,
Right.
not at all. And I don't know who would want to word it that way. It sickens me that someone would be okay with even writing the story up to say a relationship with a 12-year-old. That is disgusting. And just like myself, Pastor Tony Evans, and anybody else, this man can repent and be forgiven and everything. It's just how my disappointment, my frustration, and my anger is because of how they worded it.
Right. I
That's
agree.
my biggest anger, because you're trying to make it's a slap on the hand. He was in a unhealthy relationship. No, that's criminal. That is
Absolutely.
criminal. So
So
I
I'll
just,
Absolutely.
add, I'll add to the story. The article that I read said that he repented years ago, was sat down for 2 years before being restored back to the pulpit. But again, I'm with Tanya. I appreciate, and these are pastors of mega churches. We're not talking, little storefront churches. So I
And
appreciate,
add to that too, Talisa, that they didn't have the full story back then when he
right,
sat down initially. They
absolutely.
didn't know the age, the ages.
Absolutely. So I appreciate, and I'm glad to see this new wave of, you need to sit down some, because that was old school. If stuff went
Mhm,
on, you got sat
mhm,
down. You
mhm,
know,
mhm.
now, lately before hearing this, it was kind of, well, I repented and we moved. No, no, you need to take a minute and sit with God. And I think in the article it was saying, they referred to the time away as like a restoration.
Yeah,
It's kind of how I read it. So
Mhm.
I don't know, but I'm glad to see accountability. You need to be sat down
Absolutely.
and to um,
Mhm.
review exactly what needs to happen and kind of go from there. So
absolutely. And we just keep everyone in prayer, man. It's like,
And that's the point, Lynn. We must all keep our men and women of God in leadership, our under shepherds in prayer. Cover them, cover your pastors, their wives, anybody in leadership, because the enemy
absolutely,
knows if he gets the head, then everything else is going to fall apart.
absolutely.
And Lord knows we are not here to judge anyone. We can't judge anyone. We all have our cross to bear.
Yes,
And it's
Lord.
not about that. I know at the beginning of the year, and then I'll end this, at the beginning of the year, I heard several people, either prophetically or through a pastor's teaching, say that this was going to be a year of exposure. And that's what's happening.
Absolutely.
But it's not exposure to just put people, out on Front Street. It's exposure to bring correction. It's to bring correction. God is doing something great in this. So it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, because it's to bring correction and, like Talisa just said, and restoration to the
absolutely.
body of Christ, because it affects the entire body. It's not just that church. We are the church. We are a body. So what's going on with them affects all of us. And so
Absolutely.
we must stand in the gap for them.
Absolutely. And I
Absolutely.
was going to hit you with this last story, but I'm good. We don't have to. I was going to talk about Putin and Kim Jong Un. I don't need to give them any exposure.
But still, can we not go any
Yeah,
further?
no, we're not. We're not. I'm good.
Absolutely. And again, just I agree. Pray for pastors. People like to think that they are above reproach. They are not. They are human.
Mhm.
But it was just a period of time that I didn't see pastors sit down. I just saw them kind of, I repented, we move on. No, we don't move on. There needs to be a time
Hmm.
that you go somewhere and sit with God and get some direction.
Right.
So
Hmm.
I, even though things have happened and that was in the past, I am glad to see it turn around and we address some things that we
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So y'all, it's summer.
Yes.
Summer means the cookout.
Yes.
Out, the hanging out, the doing stuff. And if I may bring an old movie, I'm going to age myself, the movie Poetic Justice with Tupac and Janet Jackson showing up at the cookout. Okay. You could do that. You show up at the cookout, you just blend in, and they said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Lil Lucky." You met, oh, Lil Lucky. He said, "Look just like your father, just whatever, right?" I was like, "Oh my God," I said, "It's the truth." So in Philadelphia, we have the biggest park in Philadelphia called Fairmount Park. Fairmount Park, there are no gates, there nothing. You just roll up and kind of do whatever. So when that happened in the movie, I was like, oh, so I could just show up at somebody's cookout and just be like, I'm Lil Lisa. Ah, Lil Lisa, because they all been drinking. So can't nobody tell what's real. You just blend in and do whatever. What are y'all experiences with the cookout? What do y'all think?
I love that. Usually, our cookout is our family is the more the merrier. We invite everybody, extended family, my family, your family, his family, her family. That's just how we come together. So for us, it's not a big deal at all. We just welcome everybody.
Absolutely. So I could have showed up at y'all cookout and been fine, right? Is that what you're saying, Sonya?
Honey, yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Miss
Same
Vanessa?
here. Same here. Back in the day when we had cookouts and things, we were normally at one of my sister's house, and it was like Sonya. If I showed up with you, or she'd welcome you in, show you where the food is, go get you something, come back, and we chit chatting and whatnot, whatnot. So it was like we were all family. We
Mhm.
were all family. You'd have to do something pretty crazy or behave pretty badly for you to be asked to leave, because you would be asked to leave, because it was all
Oh,
love.
absolutely.
But back then you could show up. I didn't even have to call. Nowadays you call and say, "Hey, can I bring such and such with me?" I know now you need to call.
But but that's my point. To bring back what we were talking about earlier with community, you can
Exactly.
roll up
Hmm.
yourself now.
Exactly.
Can you do that?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Do y'all see it now where you can roll up in people's houses and don't say nothing?
No, because they're gonna look at you
Uh-uh.
great. Well, I know Sonya won't. Sonya still to this day is the same. But some people be
Hmm.
like, who is this? I don't want everybody in my house.
Gotta have the people in the corner.
Hmm.
Who child is it? Who is that over there?
And
Hmm.
then they're gonna talk to you so they can get to know who you are, who your people, as my dad used to say, who your people.
Hmm.
Okay, so now you bring
You,
up in the movie Poetic
but before
Justice.
you say that, to Lisa,
uh,
let me say this real quick. As long as you roll up correct,
Exactly.
because
and we're
not
gonna
this
talk
year,
about
but
that.
last year, I had somebody bring somebody and they rolled up incorrect. And do you know what these young folks was about to do? Set up a hookah at somebody else's event. Now you was invited by someone who was invited, which is fine. And then
Wow.
they start, and I shut it down.
I know you did.
Wow.
I know you did.
Really?
You know what? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. You got to remember the part in Poetic Justice with Maya Angelou and the other older mothers. They was in the corner, and Tupac's role and Janet's role. They were just friends. They just didn't even know each other, but they acted like they were engaged. And Maya Angelou
Mm-hmm.
on the sideline talking about, you engaged. What's such and such? And she was trying to play the role, but they could tell that ain't true, right? And you talking about you love this child or whatever. So I miss the old aunties that would be all somewhere
Yeah.
in the corner over there talking to each other. Talking about whose child is that? You know good well that child should not have rolled up in here with that on. Do y'all have that experience?
Mm-hmm.
Back then,
I'm that
nowadays,
auntie.
You
I
Dr. Sarah, she that auntie.
I
See?
could I could be. Yeah, I could be. I usually, I'll mind my business unless it's just too far fetched. Then I'm gonna go ask questions. Okay, who is that, and where are her friends or
Thank
his friends?
Mm-hmm.
I could be that person. Normally, I'm pretty cool. I let people be, but if it's just something that just something has to be said, I'm gonna say it. I am
Tanya said,
going to say,
she be over there in the corner. You know good and well that child shouldn't. You see them shorts all up her behind. What is she
Mm-hmm.
fucking
Mm-hmm.
and
with
then
them?
you find the person that brought them and ask them, why didn't you tell that girl put on some clothes?
Put some clothes on.
Mm-hmm.
Put some
Mm-mm.
clothes.
I tell them to put some clothes on because at the end of the day, if you out with your friends at a cookout, that's one thing, and you letting it all hang out. But you come into a family event with grandmamas, great grandmamas, great
Right,
aunties, and
right,
uncles, and cousins, and all of them, and you gonna come up in there, even if you're a part of the family and all your stuff hanging out. Oh yes,
right.
I'll address that
Yeah.
because
Even
this
with the
is very
guy.
inappropriate. That's what I'm saying. These are
Yeah.
still men,
Right,
and these
right,
are your this is your family. Who you
right,
showing this stuff to?
right.
So no,
Right. And
no,
Exactly.
no. You go put on a t-shirt.
why would you bring them home to your family? Why you gonna do that?
Right. Pull your pants up if
Put
you're a
your
guy.
mm-hmm.
Pull your pants up. Women, have, as my mom would say, have some get up about yourself. Have some get up. My mom always say that. Have some get up about yourself.
That's right. That's right. So there are some rules, ladies, that we're gonna go over about having the proper cookout. Now we just got finished talking about this,
Mm.
about what we used to do back in the day, but they got rules now, so it's a little different, right? The number one rule is do not show up if you were not invited by the host. I don't care who you know. What do y'all think?
I don't agree with that. I'm old school. No, I am old school when it comes to that. If people know me, and if you, like I said, if you come correct, even if you don't call me, I'm okay with it. However, if you about to bring like JoJo from round the way or something, we need to have a conversation because I'm gonna use that as an opportunity, and I've done that. I'll pull JoJo to the side and have a talk with him and find out about his family and what's going on with his future and what's try to get to know him and make him feel inclusive so
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have that awkwardness. So normally that's how I handle that. But for people who know us, they know that if they do bring someone with them and they didn't tell us, that it has to be somebody that they know that we're going to be okay with.
Absolutely. Vanessa?
Absolutely. Like I said, nowadays I'll call if I'm coming to your house. Initially, I'm coming, and then even with Mark, if he was now coming with me and you didn't know he was coming, I'd pick up and say, "Hey, Mark's coming with me, just letting you know, da 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 da," and then make sure it's cool. I just do that. Even if I know you, I'll
Mhm.
just say, "Hey, Mark's coming," so whatever, whatever. I'll call and let you know if I'm bringing somebody with me, and if I'm going with you, if you're going someplace and I'm going with you, it'd be nice if you call the host and say, "Hey, I'm bringing my friend. Make sure it's okay." Because I would not. I would hate to be someplace and I came with you, but then the host is nasty because I came with you. Now I'm gonna have attitude. I'm gonna have attitude with the host first of all when I shouldn't have been there. I guess I'm gonna have attitude. I'll have attitude. I will have an attitude. Why is she nasty towards me? She didn't want me to come. She should have said. And then you know me. You know me. If she didn't want me to come, she should have told you. Not to bring me. And then don't say I can come, and then I come and you still nasty. It's one thing for me
Yeah.
to come without her knowing, him or her knowing. But then if I come, you say I can come, and then you still nasty me. Oh no, we got attitude. Now we got attitude, and you
Mhm.
would never have to worry about.
Eat your food if you nasty. I just can't do it. I
Oh
can't do
no. As a
it.
matter of fact, I might go sit in the car and hang out and wait because I would be so uncomfortable, and then you would never have to worry about me, Vanessa, stepping foot in your yard ever
Absolutely.
again, ever
Absolutely.
ever ever.
Because your attitude influences the food. I'm sorry. I don't want no food. I don't want nothing from you. I don't want no. And they be like, my food fine. No, your attitude is nasty. Therefore, as a result, your food is
Exactly.
nasty too. So
Go
absolutely.
go on
And
and
you
get
know,
you something to eat. No, go on and get. No, I'm good. I lost my appetite. My stomach hurt.
ladies, you guys are making a very good point here because that's one of the reasons why I would not just pop up at somebody's event
Hmm.
because we were taught not to eat everybody's food. We
Exactly.
just don't do that.
Exactly. Nope.
We
No,
just don't
ma'am.
do it.
No, ma'am. I
All right.
even if I could just go from barbecue to barbecue. I got if I had to eat, if I just had to eat, I'm looking for the store bought stuff. I'm looking for everything that came from the store. Okay, if you opened it,
It's
okay,
been. I want to know where it's been. Okay, here's the next rule. If your children are not well behaved, stay home with your kids.
absolutely. Unless you're in a huge park area, it's outdoors and they can rip and run, and then I can watch you and you're not disturbing everybody else around. If it's huge, if it's open like that, fine. But if it's, if it's in a house, and you got a small outdoors and people aren't really outdoors, and I got to go out there and watch. Oh no, you staying at the house, and then I'm not gonna tell. And you my child too. I ain't gonna tell you, but I guess because my patience. I have patience, but then I may not feel like running after kids.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sonia, what
Well,
say you?
this is the new thing with these younger folk today. They ride up with their bad behind kids. Yes, I said bad behind
They
kids.
do. They do.
They ride up with them and then they don't watch them. That's what bothers me.
Yep.
Watch your children. You have water, you have grills going, you have all kind of things going on. The kids might be at the little playground, your baby over there, but you over here. Really?
Yep.
That right there, I cannot stand. And usually if we're at a family function, I'm the one that's trying to be like, who's
Right.
who got that baby?
Right.
Who's watching that
Right.
baby? And stand on top of my children about watching their children.
Well, let's call it what it is. Now, y'all know back in the day, it wasn't a cookout, but you went to somebody's house. The conversation they had with you before you left the house, you ain't hungry,
Mm-hmm.
don't need nothing, you all right. So don't be
Mm-hmm.
walking up to people's houses looking hungry, right? Now, these children don't know nothing about this, okay? They grabbing
Mm-hmm.
stuff all over the place. You all up, as my grandfather used to say, up in somebody's face, and your child is all over the place, tearing up the house. You and your bad kids need to stay home. So we agree?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. This is not the babysitter. We are not coming to watch your kids. They got cans all over the backyard because they done threw them on the ground.
But you already know people are going to talk about you. You and your bad kids. You know your children are bad, and your kids coming around other people being bad. You already know they're going to talk about you. So why give them room to talk about you?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
had people tell me they didn't want me to say anything to their kids because they don't punish their kids. I said, well, keep them away from around me then.
Exactly.
Because I'm not going to stand here and see your child hurt themselves and don't say anything because you too foolish to understand what you're telling me is stupid.
Absolutely.
I don't do this. So I would appreciate, I don't raise my voice at my son or daughter. So don't raise yours at them. Really? It didn't kill you?
You got to go. You got to go.
Oh,
So,
honey, this is a new breed.
They really are. They really are. It's a new breed altogether. They somebody
now
to know.
look at it like, why are you making a big deal? The child is all over the place. Why are you making such a big deal? I'm making a big deal because there's soda cans all over the floor. I'm going around trying to pick up behind them so we don't have stuff everywhere. The trash is leaning over. You got flies all over the trash can because they don't know how to. No, you have, again, I go back to, we were not allowed to come to somebody's house and disrupt. You were not allowed to do that. That would be a beat down for real. Because you didn't see that. But unfortunately, some of these children and their parents, really, I leave it to the parents, have not taught their children to walk up in somebody else's house. There's a behavior that needs to be displayed. You are not going to be all over the place. And remember when we were kids, remember they had that thing, it was three-tiered, maybe not three-tiered, but it was three things. Had peanuts, mints, it had something else in it. Remember those?
Yes.
Yeah,
Lazy Susan.
grab a whole handful and drop it. Your mother would kill a CILLU
On the spot.
on the spot. You are not doing that, no ma'am. No, not up in here. So again, get you and your bad kids and stay home. Third rule. Quit asking who made the potato salad.
No, I'm not gonna quit asking that. If I plan on eating some of it, that's the first question. Who made the potato salad? And if I can't ask you directly, I'm gonna see if I can't find out from other people. Who made this potato salad got a little taste. Well, what you do? Who made this? What was your recipe? So that way you can find out. I'm gonna ask who made the potato salad. But I don't really eat, like Sonia stated, I don't eat a lot of, it's certain things I just don't eat. If I don't know who made it, I don't care what it looks like. I just won't eat it. Like Sonia's potato salad, mac and cheese, the greens, the ribs. Sonia, I go to Sonia's house and just start making me a plate. I don't have to ask anything. I don't have to ask
Mm-mm.
anything. So Lisa, I come to
Mm-mm.
your house, same thing. But there's just some people, friend, still friends, but
Mm-hmm.
it just can't happen.
I'm very particular about potato salad. I'm very, very particular. Okay, and
Can't
I'm
do
talking
it.
color. What it looked like, the color of it, what is
Mm-hmm.
it look like you just walked up out of Publix with it. And Publix, for those that are listening, is a local grocery store here in the Atlanta area. If it looked like you just walked up out of Publix, I'm not touching it. Okay. But again, you got to know kind of what you're looking at. Certain things I just don't trust with people,
Can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know what you're going to, and I'm not going to sit here and criticize what you did. I'm just not going to touch it.
Just
Sonya, what
can't
about
do it.
Right.
Can't
I
do
was
it.
just gonna add, I'm not a big potato salad person, so that's not gonna be one of the first things I go to. So I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna ask that question. But I did want to share that I have a friend, and Vanessa knows who it is. I have a friend that, when we would have family gatherings, and let's say you rotating houses or whatever, they would always wait till they got to a certain person's house to really eat. They would go and stop by and visit and say, in fellowship or do whatever, have a little something to drink or something really light. And then when they get to my house, they be ready to tear that food.
Yep.
So,
okay?
and that just when you guys were talking, I was like, yeah, I remember those days.
I
Absolutely.
mean,
You know whose house to eat at. Some stuff is just social, right?
you
Mhm.
get a little bit on the plate, just put a little of this, and then you move it around because you really don't want it. You move it around like you eating it, put a little hole in it like you eating it.
Absolutely. You just kind of socially, kind of whatever. But that goes back to the kids because the kids are just going to do whatever. And they running
Right.
all over the place. And we can't have that. But that's why I said for me, what has always stood was, when you went to somebody's house, how to be respectful. So that brings up the next rule. When you go to somebody's house, you are to be respectful of their house. Ladies, what say you?
That's a no-brainer.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely be
Absolutely.
respectful of their home. I mean, why would I come to your house and just be downright disrespectful to you and your
Hmm.
family? I need to stay at the house if that's the case.
Yeah.
If I'm going to
And
do my
I'm
own
gonna.
thing at your house, then I need to stay home and do my own thing.
So I'm gonna
That's
add this.
right.
Say something, Sonya. If I'm gonna add this, respect has different meanings depending on whom we're talking to.
And how
So
you were raised.
that house, and I think this is respectful, and you do not, we now have a problem. Sonya, what say you?
So I'm going to use this as an example. This day and time when you enter people's house, a lot of people they don't wear shoes in their home, and I get it.
Mhm.
But
Right?
I know people who feel offended if they have to take their shoes off at somebody's house, especially if it
Right?
wasn't communicated prior to them coming.
Right.
Mm.
And
Right.
so when they find this out, they just don't visit that person because they don't like taking their shoes off. They just don't like going barefoot. And
Mhm.
so if this person comes and it's their first time coming to your home, maybe you would give them an option of something that they can do because they don't even go barefoot in their own home. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mhm.
So, and even though people have socks available for you and all of that, they still just never go barefoot. And so, because this person knows that's how they are, if they know that this person don't wear shoes in their home, they just don't visit them. And it's nothing against them. It's just they want to be respectful of how they live in their home, and they
Exactly.
want to also stay true to who they are, and that's just one of the things that they don't do. And so you just have to find that fine line, or have a discussion with people about things like that. Like if I come to your home, I'm the kind of person. As long as I have my footies or something, I'm good. I'll take my shoes off at the door. I have a friend now; they don't wear shoes in their house, so I always make sure I go to her house with socks or socks in my purse. But
Right.
let's say if I didn't have any, she always have a clean pair of socks to give me to put on. But you have some people who just don't want to take their shoes off. But
Mhm.
Now,
again, you have to respect the culture of that home.
That's
it would
right.
be nice too if the person who does not allow shoes or whatnot, could put that out beforehand, because I'm a germaphobe. And I'm one of those people that don't really walk barefoot in my own house. Mark thinks I'm a
Mhm.
bit strange, but I don't. But if I
Mhm.
go to your house, I don't have socks, I don't have shoes, I don't have anything to put on. It's like I won't stay long, first of all, because all I'm thinking about is walking barefoot in your house. I'm not
Mhm.
comfortable. I don't appreciate it. I'm respectful because I'll do it, but I will not stay long at all because I cannot stand it. And it's nothing worse than having to do that and somebody's floor is dirty. If you're gonna do that, make sure your floor is dirty. Add that to the list, Talisa.
Yes.
Make
Yes.
make sure your floor is clean. You said dirty. Make sure it's clean.
Yes. Yes.
Make sure it's clean. It's like I'm that person. I will respect your house. If I do happen to show up and I got to take them off, just know I'm screaming on the inside if I don't have socks on and I don't have shoes, the indoor shoes with the little thing that the maintenance man might put on. But yeah, I'm
Mhm.
screaming, but I will be respectful.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the last one, and we're going to say this and head on out of here, is if you did not contribute financially, stop trying to walk out with 4 or 5 plates going home and you didn't contribute nothing to it. What say you, ladies?
I
The
think
way
it
I
depends.
feel,
Oh, go ahead, Sonia. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think Vanessa was gonna say this. It depends on the relationship, but also I'm like this. At least wait until they offer. Don't
Exactly.
come in asking to take a
Exactly.
plate. Now, like you guys, if you came and you couldn't stay, I'm gonna make a plate to go. Even if you ate, make a plate to go. However, let's say, but it's someone that you don't know that well, or it's just like an acquaintance or
Right.
something,
Right.
and every time and they want to take food, or they asking you before you even finish dinner. I
Right.
think that that's disrespectful. But
Right.
I just feel that you should allow the host to offer before
Yes.
you ask,
Yes.
Agree.
and
I agree.
that's based on the type of relationship. Now,
I
for
agree.
close knit people, close knit friends, I don't feel that way. You can have whatever I got.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And you don't have to ask.
Hold,
Just ask me.
hold, hold on 1 second, Vanessa. I want you to say what you're going to say, but we're cutting it short. So give me about 30 seconds and go ahead.
You don't have to ask. If you ask anything, ask if I've got like to go plates, because we've got a good
Mhm.
friendship. Then you ain't gotta ask. Just say I'm taking or I'm doing whatever, whatever. But yeah, I
Mhm.
absolutely agree with Sonia. If I don't know you that well, the food was great. I'll go home and dream about it, but I'm not gonna ask you if I can take some with me.
Vanessa said you're going to go home and dream about it. So as y'all can see, there are rules to the cookout, right? You're
Mhm.
not bringing your bad behind kids. You're not rolling up in something that people don't know you. Now in Fairmount Park in Philly, people liable to do it. If it's out in the open, like we said, people just kind of roll up and do whatever. But I feel like as a community, African American community, we've always kind of had people just pull up and just kind of do whatever. But there are rules. So you just ain't gonna roll up. You ain't gonna talk about, well, who cooked the ribs and this. You wasn't even invited, and you got something to say. Don't be rolling out with 4, 5 plates. You didn't even bring napkins. Most people bring something. Brings That's biblical. You don't show before a king without a gift. So bring something with you, and you will have a great time. It's a great season, but understand there are rules. So,
Absolutely.
ladies, any final things
Absolutely.
before we end?
Enjoy the cookout.
Let's do,
Stay out of trouble.
and to what Talisa just said, I just wanted to add with that rule is first make sure that there's enough food before you to take a plate, because sometimes you don't know if they have other guests coming or whatever. So you just can't assume because you see all this food in the house that it's enough for you to take something. So you want to be considerate of others. And I'm like Vanessa, have fun at the cookout.
Have
Absolutely.
fun at the cookout, but understand somebody need to get a T-shirt with all the rules on it. That way, people understand what to do when you get to the cookout. Well, y'all know how we do this. We always have a conversation every 2 weeks, so we will be back in 2 weeks with another conversation on the Say What podcast. Ladies, we enjoyed you. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Get ready for Sonia, Teresa, Vanessa, Bettina. Come on. Say what? Come on. Say what? We got bam, hot topics. We got what the fudge. So bring it home. Say what? Bring it home. Say what? You got questions. We got the answers. You wanna chit? You wanna chat? You wanna talk about this and talk about